Good afternoon, everyone. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. And the willingness to learn is a choice. With these words of a renowned American author, I welcome you all to another Wednesday of learning, another new session of the Master Knowledge series, the EEE 4.0. Coming to the topic of this ninth session, I'm intrigued to say that the world is in a constant state of flux. Sustainability is not just a buzzword anymore, but a matter of each and every global deliberation. The recently culminated G7 summit, with its focus on climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss, serves as the best example. With corporates having the maximum environmental and social impact of their operations, the floodlights of regulators are primarily focused on them only. And things are no different in the Indian backdrop. We have had our share of guidelines, focusing on CSR initially, and then moving on to the NVGs and now the NGRBCs, or the National Guidelines on Responsible Business Conduct. If the Business Responsibility Reporting Framework, or the BRR, stemmed from the NVGs, the new guidelines made way for a much more expansive and all-inclusive reporting framework, the BRSR, the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting Framework. The underlying intent of the BRSR can be said to be seamless integration and alignment of the various regulatory frameworks and compliance requirements in terms of environmental, social, and governance parameters to be followed by companies. And as governance professionals, it falls upon our shoulders to play a dual role of not only guiding the corporates in preparing their reports to perfection, but also lead the regulatory agenda of transparent and effective compliance. To deliberate on the finer nuances of this framework and to guide us into understanding and dispensing of our responsibilities in an effective manner, we have with us today CS Ranjit Pandey, former President ICSI, and CS Sachin Mishra, Head Legal and Company Secretary, Tata Consulting Engineers Limited. It is my proud privilege to read their brief profiles in front of all our learned members. Our first speaker for today, CS Ranjit Pandey, needs no introduction. Former President of the ICSI and a PCS for over 21 years, he is presently chairing the ESG and Sustainability Board of ICSI and Advisory Committee of Professional Members of ICSI Institute of Insolvency Professionals. He is also a part of the ICSI Institute of Social Auditors and the Disciplinary Committee of ICSI IIB. Our second speaker for today, CS Sachin Mishra. With a career spanning more than 15 years, he is heading the legal and company secretarial function at Tata Consulting Engineers Limited and is also the in-house general counsel. A speaker at distinguished forums and a part of legal committee at the CII and Bombay Chambers of Commerce and Industry, he has been awarded the Governance Professional of the Year Award by the ICSI and the General Counsel of the Year Award at the 7th edition India Legal Summit and Legal Summit Awards for 2021. I welcome both of you to our EEE 4.0 Master Knowledge Series 9th session, and we hope to have an amazing and enthusiastic session of learning. Over to you, sir. I would begin with CS Ranjit Pandey ji to give his opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Pooja, and thanks ICSI, President, Vice President, and Secretary for continuing the EEE series, and it's 4 wonderful years now, and this particular program is running successfully right from the time when we have started it in the year 2017 for the first time. So of course, knowledge sessions, and nothing can be best than the EEE, where we have the series of knowledge sessions. Today's topic, ESG and BRSR reporting, it's very close to everyone's hearts now. And in fact, everybody is concerned about environment, social and governance. And ESG, BRSR is nothing but the reporting framework for what efforts you have done to tackle or integrate or adopt the ESG in the organization. One session has already been done where nitty-gritty of ESG has already been discussed in EEE 4.0. And of course, this is the second session where we will be discussing about the BRSR reporting and what impact we are going to create through this reporting in terms of awareness, in terms of creating the impact, and so on and so forth. I would like to say highlight here that ICSI is very conscious and taken a lot of initiatives. And as a chairperson of the ESG and Sustainability Board, I can say that we are working on a various topics and theme. We are trying to say participate in the all programs, discussions framed by the regulators, be it NSE, BAC or SEBI. Everywhere ICSI is participating. Very recently, we have done the ESG conclave, wherein a lot of good participation has been done. And in fact, ESG conclave at Mumbai and Pune, I have also participated. And response of the audience is very good. But having said so, and in fact, we are also having the weekly knowledge series mailer we are say rolling out and giving to all the members. And this knowledge series is nothing but the just making members aware about the ESG small concepts, nothing more than that. Thereafter, of course, a big booklet and all other things will be published for the members, and ESG crash courses and PMQ courses are also running. Master classes are also there, so members can take benefit of that. What I'm trying to highlight here is that ICSI is conscious, and all the corporates have already started integrating or adopting the ESG and started reporting in the BRSR format. So we as a member also need to gear up and take this opportunity as a company secretary that we should not be lagging behind. In the corporate, all the company secretaries are doing. Particularly, I will be say making appeal to the practicing members that don't lose this opportunity. Take it up and try to build and be the first mover advantage. Although movement has already been started, but still it is I can say that initial years. Take the first mover advantage and take this concept, imbibe it. And I always believe that more and more study, exposure to more and more practical environment. And I will say that this particular book ICSI is releasing every year. This particular book also you can refer, where best of the governance practices, including the sustainability practices, are being highlighted by the ICSI. You can learn from here. A lot of case studies in regard to and what best practices corporates are following. That is also highlighted in the comparative mode. You can take advantage of that and be the good ESG professional and practitioner and become the part of the ecosystem and take the ESG to the next level in the India INC. Thank you so much. I think now Sachin has a small presentation. So I think basics of ESG and of course BRSR reporting, he will be taking you through. So this is introductory remark from my side. Yes, Pooja.
Thank you, sir. And I hope we'll be gaining a lot more in this time to follow. Over to you, Sachin, sir.
Thank you, Pooja, and thank you, Ranjit. As usual, it's always a very nice experience hearing you, and you being a chairman of ESG Sustainability Board, really driving that agenda, which will see the result in coming future. With that, I will just share my screen, and I have a small presentation. I will not take much of the time. I will, without ado, just let me know, Pooja, when you can see my screen.
Yes, it is there.
Yeah. So I think Ranjit has given already the introduction about the ESG things which is happening in India. But for the today's presentation, which is BRSR, regulatory landscape and stakeholder engagement, I will just like to touch base about this 6 pointers which are there on the screen. First, as a BRSR, we all know that BRSR is nothing but, as Ranjit also mentioned, it's a reporting framework which is introduced by SEBI for companies to report the sustainability, social and governance framework on the environment, social and governance parameter. Now, these parameters have different connotation. E has a different connotation about the basic standards and the leadership standards. Similarly, S and G, they both have some of the basic connotation accordingly. Now, if I go ahead and if you see the ESG reporting framework journey so far in India, you will find from 2009 onward, when the National Voluntary Guideline came into the picture, which was more like a voluntary guideline across the India and not very much noise about it. But slowly and gradually in 2020, when the NVG has come up in a place where BRSR has been launched, and it was there in 2015 also, which was in a form of BRR. The industry, the corporates came into the much accounting mode because of various reasons. Reason one, as we all know, that the genesis of the ESG, it may be 1993 when the triple bottom line approach was there in the US sector. But after that, in 2014, when the Paris Convention pledge has been taken that we will reduce the global warming, and by 2050 we will reduce the warming temperature by below 2% or 2 degree. That was a target being set. To meet the target, the accountability was given on a corporate India, that what they are doing for the E, S, and G. And to do that thing from National Voluntary Guideline in 2009, today we are in a situation where the top 1,000 ask for BRSR reporting, and there is a BRSR core which is also in a pipeline. If you see regulatory landscape wise, of course, SEBI has come up with the BRSR, but MCA, which came up with the National Guidance Note on the Responsible Business Conduct, which I just mentioned back, NVR now come into a guidance 4, which guidance talks about the National Guideline on Resource Responsible Business Conduct. Both these bodies, whether SEBI or whether MCA, if you see somewhere, they are trying to capture the commitment of corporate India in terms of E, S, and G. What is their reporting? They're reporting nothing but their sustainability and corporate governance practices in the BRSR or in the NGRBC format. But not only SEBI or MCA which is doing this. Globally, if you see, there are other reporting formats which are already adopted. One of which is a GRI, Global Reporting Initiative. We all know what GRI is all about. It does not need any introduction, but of course, GRI also recognizes some of the sustainability framework on the economics, environment, and the social conduct of a corporations. Why GRI is important in the Indian concept? Because the relevance of GRI you can also see in the BRSR framework, which gives you environmental, economic, socials, and governance parameters also. Why it is relevant? Because it's a comprehensive reporting and it is alignment with the global reporting. Similarly, you have got another reporting format, which is SASB, Sustainable Accounting and Sustainable Accounting and Standard Board, which has their own reporting format. And after that, if you see the NGRBC, which I just spoke about, they have come up with this 9 principles, which are part of the BRSR principle, and there are other KPIs which are assigned to these principles. We will deal with this in our question and answer round in the coming slide, but these are the drafting of the BRSR, which talks about general disclosure, management disclosure, and the principle-wise performance disclosure, which has got basic and leadership quality. Then again, SEBI has given some of the guidance note, and guidance note talked about purpose, importance, structure, and format, metrics, KPI, stakeholder engagement, assurance, and the continuous improvement format. Of course, we know how the technology is playing a role in the BRSR, whether the data collection, reporting tool, or stakeholder communication. We will also see how technology is gathering the data on a factual front. You must have seen in various AGMs which are ongoing nowadays. All the big houses are talking about the reporting of their sustainability initiatives and the technology they are using to make sure their sustainability is predictable, and they are certifying those predictability. Some of the future trend, of course, we will talk about that. And at the conclusion, of course, the regulatory impact, the global alignment, and stakeholder engagement is something which should be the outcome of today's EEE session number 9. With that, I will end my presentation or introductory remark, and over to you, Pooja and Ranjit again.
Thank you, sir. And with that brief introduction from both of you, I would now like to begin with my set of questions. And we would be discussing on the areas which actually concern the BRSR as professionals, what we need to take care of, and how we need to go about it, meeting our responsibilities. So my first question to you, Sachin sir, and then I would take the question again with Ranjit sir also as well. So the question is, who according to you are the key stakeholders of ESG, and how should a company properly identify its key stakeholders for ESG and BRSR reporting?
Yeah. So Pooja, I think I just mentioned in my introductory remark that key stakeholder for the ESG reporting and how to identify our key stakeholder. The answer lies with the business, what we are doing. In the BRSR framework, it talks about employee, it talks about customer, it talks about supplier also. And it talks about these three main pillars, and the shareholder or the board of director are the part of the governance parameter. But if you see the stakeholder from a business perspective, is not only these individuals or the human being, I will say, your stakeholder is your environment also. Where do you work? Yeah, your stakeholder is the technology or the cyber tools which you are using. These are the two aspects which I feel should also be a part of the reporting. When we do a business, and it's all depend on what activity I'm doing. And if I'm doing a goods related activity, who are my supplier, where I'm procuring, how I'm procuring, and how I'm delivering. If I'm procuring from a supplier, there is a famous case in our neighboring country where in a clothing garment factory, there was a fire. We all use the European and the US jeans very proudly on Saturday, on Sunday. In that particular fire, 700 people got killed in that factory. And the reason was the factory does not have proper firing norms. Why that factory does not have a proper firing norm? Because the European or the US company, which wanted that jeans to be manufactured in neighboring country of India, they are giving it very cheap. And they have treated the humans like a cattle. One fine day, the fire broke and 700 people died. So the corporate which used to sell the jeans in India and other part of the world, that corporate was questioned. Have you done the employees engagement of the supplier side? The answer was no. They have never done that. There is a famous furniture brand in India. They have got in Mumbai, they have got in Bangalore. You can go to that furniture brand and you will see acres of land and you can choose your furniture. You can get a furniture fitted at your home. There was a child labor abuse from the supplier side in that furniture brand. And when the question was asked, the CEO's answer was this: yes, we could not go to that level. But you cannot, for the sake of profit, you can simply say that we can't go to that level. So BRSR makes sure that your engagement does not end with your employees or your customer. It has to go beyond the employee customer. It has to go to the supplier. At the same time, at the E related, I'm talking about E on the ESG, you have to also take care of the Mother Earth. You have to also take care of the water and of the air, what you're polluting. So don't just look at the human side of the engagement. See the engagement, how you are engaging with your with the earth, how you are engaging with the water, what are you doing with the air. So those things I feel should be, and it is reportable. To be honest with you, just wait and watch how the segment E of the BRSR is getting changed, and you will see a lot of technical people are chipping in there. So that's what my take.
Okay. So, very well said, Sachin. In fact, I would be telling that as far as key stakeholders are concerned, it is more on the impact part rather than the say what you think. And in fact, if we are talking about business responsibility as well as sustainability, so what is the responsibility of business towards the various stakeholders? So identifying a stakeholder is the one of the most important thing as far as ESG and BRSR reporting is concerned. So to my mind, whosoever is impacted or have interest in your business, one is who is impacted and second one is interested in your business is your stakeholder. And whomsoever impacted or you are going to impact or you are getting impacted, both ways. It is two-way. So as Sachin has said, that environment, society includes your employee, your communities in which you are operating, and as or nation as a whole, wherever you may create impact. Because it may be possible that your products are going all across India or all across globe. Say, for example, tubes of the toothpaste. You are a toothpaste manufacturing company and you are, producing some kind of product. So one of the principle of in National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct says that your goods and services, you should produce the goods and services in a manner that is sustainable and safe. So sustainable sustainability is one part and safe it should also be safe. So toothpaste is going and all the tubes are getting not recycled, although it is recyclable but not getting recycled, and it is not coming back to the say company, or collection mechanism is not that good, then it is going to impact the environment, it is going to say impact the other stakeholders also. So to my take is that whosoever is impacted and have interest in your company's operation, number one. Number two, sustainability practices or level of sustainability in your country or your say city or your say organization, and overall business performance and impact it is going to create on all three E, S and G. So social is also important and community and stakeholder engagement is also important. So this is what the key stakeholder. So my advice to all of the person who are going to identify the stakeholder, as Sachin has also mentioned, that don't be limited to your employee, your society, your community. It is beyond that. It is also covering environment. It is also covering community, and it is covering all across the board, whosoever is you are going to impact.
So going a step further in this engagement concept only, from a practical perspective, how do we go about taking measures to actually engage with the stakeholders? What can be the possible route to do it? What would be the right time to do it? And how can we maximize the impact of such engagement? Ranjit sir, to begin with you.
See, as I have said that stakeholder engagement is one of the key and important part. And if we are talking about a stakeholder engagement, we have to start. In fact, let's understand the process first, that how to say do it. So first of all, I think you have to understand the business, what business you are doing. Understanding the business is most important part and most important thing. Until and unless you understand the business that in which segment or what business you are doing, you will not be able to say identify the stakeholder, and you will not be able to prioritize the things what you are going to do. So first is understanding the business. Second one is, as I have said in the beginning, that mapping the impact, what impact you are going to create on the, say, people, planet, and of course, prosperity is also third thing which is there. So all three, considering in mind, map and prioritize your stakeholder, who are your stakeholder. Then second stage could be that you can use various tools for the stakeholders engagement, and it may be, say, doing the SWOT analysis of the business vis-a-vis impact it is going to create on the all three factors. Maybe survey and questionnaires you are going to do, and have the one-to-one engagement with the all the stakeholders or key stakeholders. Once you have finalized the list, once you have, say, created that these are the impactful people who are the key stakeholder, and in fact, to name a few, it may be your employees, it may be your customers, it may be your buyers, it may be your supplier, it may be your end use customer, whosoever it may be. If it is end user customer, then some of the customer group you can identify and have the one-to-one meeting, or maybe group discussion or group meeting, and taking the feedback that what impact my product and my services are going to do with you. So this kind of say analysis can be done, and stakeholder analysis tool, there are various tool which is say considered by various corporates. So that kind of thing you can do. So that is one part. Second part is, of course, continuous involvement and engagement, because once you identify and finalize, that does not mean it is final, because ESG and BRSR reporting is evolving concept. And since it is an evolving concept, you may find it that say today I have found it this person is the my priority stakeholder, and tomorrow you may find that some other person may be the priority stakeholder. So this way you need to change it. Third step could be that say communicate what you are thinking, and what, say, priority you have set, and what are your, say, things or plan you are going to implement to take care of the stakeholders and implement the BRSR principles, national guidelines for responsible business conduct, 9 principles, how you are going to align it, why you are going to implement it and integrate it in the organization. So rightly word has been used as engagement, and engagement is continuous engagement. If you will be engaging on a continuous basis, you will be able to integrate it in more better manner, more better way, and all the, say, standard setting and goals and target setting will become easier. In fact, I would say that whenever you are going to set the target, I think feedback of the customers, feedback of the stakeholders are very important before the setting the target, because sitting in the boardroom, you are going to set the target, that is not going to help much. You may lay out the vision, but that vision should be supported by the feedback of the actual stakeholders. Once it is done, then reporting framework can be prepared, that how to, say, map it, how to gauge it, and then how to report it. So this way, I think involvement of the stakeholder, right from the identifying, right from the, say, framing of the plan and action and goals, and thereafter continuous development and integration of the ESG in the organization. At every stage, engagement has to be done once you have identified all the stakeholders.
I will just add on Ranjit's point, and he rightly mentioned about the mapping, gauging, and reporting. And mapping, gauging, and reporting. And of course, he has rightly mentioned some of the tools which should be used. And I tell you, there could be indirect method of engagement or indirect method of engagement. See, nowadays, if you see all the marketing team, they try to gauge the pulse of a market. And how they get the pulse of a market? They do it through a sample survey. That sample size could be 1%, 2%, or maybe maximum 5% of the consumer who is going to actually use it. Now, if they have this particular methodology where they engage with the consumer on a sample size basis, so why don't we use same technology, whether it is a stakeholder survey, whether it is a social media engagement, or whether it is an annual sustainability reporting? That's an indirect method of engagement, I'm saying. And you'll get to know what exactly the society where you are operating wants from you, what really they want from you. Many times, we overdo selling where the society does not want those products. And of course, direct method to a advisory panel, or whether you are as an organization doing the site visit or tour for the same. So these are the two broad engagement framework, which as per me should also be explored when company want to do some engagement from a stakeholders.
In fact, I would like to add one say live example. That say, for example, in the hilly area, you want to have the Hydel project, and for that particular Hydel project, or maybe say some developmental project at Uttarakhand, or maybe say Himachal Pradesh, and you go and talk to the stakeholders and say local communities there, that whether development or this kind of project should come or not. With the overwhelming response, you will be getting that yes, this project should come, a lot of development will happen, and this that. But whenever you are going to concern another part, that is first one, E, environment, then I think your project will be stuck. And if you will say consider the views of the environmentalist or views of the people who are the social groups, they will say big no, because we are already say facing a lot of avalanche and that kind of things happening every season. So why should we go for that kind of project? We should not be going. Or if at all we are going, then it should have the less impact on our ecosystem. So ecosystem analysis will become the very key, and social groups and environment group will become more essential rather than the local people residing in those environment. So this is what the overall sustainability. We are talking about sustainability. So development, but it should be sustainable development. And if we are talking about sustainable development, it is sustainable to all, including environment.
Since you touched upon sustainability, there is a concept which we have been talking about for the past so many decades, that is sustainability. As of now, we are moving towards business responsibility. A part says sustainability reporting, and together that makes business responsibility and sustainability reporting. What is the exact difference, the points of divergence and convergence between the three concepts? Sachin sir, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, and Ranjit has really mentioned very nicely that, and he has given a very nice example that, it's not just the people residing, but the people who matter also, and they understand. And sustainability is not what should I say? It's not a short-term concept. I was listening to one speaker yesterday night in one of the forum, and he gave a very nice example. He said this year almost 40,000 people experienced the heat wave. 40,000 people, and I'm sure he was one of them. So it's not something which is happening new. Heat wave is increasing, and it is increasing pan India. It is not just Delhi NCR. It is there everywhere. I mean, I'm sure Pooja would be. You would be also increasing. In our, I mean, he was giving example in last 30-40 years of the data, we have increased the carbon dioxide by 33% in the environment. 33% was the data he said, and some of the example which I can give is like, you will find almost all the not all the company, you can see all the 500 company, they are reporting on BRSR, and they are reporting on the what is there in the BRSR. Transparency of the report, I mean, on a compliance term, I'm not talking about the actual implementation, has increased. Why it is increased? It's all thanks to our community, like company secretary, who has actually said in the companies that you have to give this. Okay. So almost all the companies are giving that report. We have to give that report because it's a compliance report requirement. But today we are talking about from taking that view of Ranjit's point on E. Today we say that we need investment to make the sustainable development. How much is the investment needed? And some studies shows the investment needed in the global environment to become the 2047 target, that is 2% less warmer, you need $10 trillion investment every single year. Every single year globally, $10 trillion. And how much investment is happening actually? $1.3 trillion. So a lot of talks are happening, but to do that, there would be major investment required in research and development and adopting those research and development. Today, it is very easy to develop a product with plastic because it's easily available. But it's very difficult to adopt a product which is sustainable because it need R&D, it need investment. So transparency is something which is there in BRSR and in sustainability, which is coming in the sustainability reporting. In the sustainability reporting, if you see, we talk about risk management. We talk about risk, but we talk about risk management. Wherein in the BRSR, we talk about the ranking of those risks. Now, in a sustainability reporting format, if you see, we have to commit our future goal, which I foresee is not there in many of the sustainability report. When I say future goal, one company can take a target that by 2047 or 2045, I will be net zero. Now, 2045, you will be net zero. I agree. But what is your plan? How you will achieve 2047? Nobody talks about that. You need to have a KPIs. You need to have your long-term vision as well as short-term KPIs to meet those targets. And that is missing in the various BRSR reports also. We see long-term goal or long-term objective, but we don't see how the plan is going to achieve. Because if you have a proper implementation of a sustainability reporting, it does not only give you a better brand, but it gives you a future security to sustain in the market, which is going to change drastically in coming year. India is going to grow with 7.4% or 8% growth rate, whatever you can say. But in that growth rate, whether it is sustainable in all the parameters, E, S, and G is to be reported in a proper format so that the investor who is going to invest, they know that they are putting their money in which stock or in which company. And that's a wise decision I think should be taken.
That's a very unique way of putting it, actually. Ranjit sir, continuing with that thought, we had BRR earlier and now we have BRSR. As a professional, what difference do you witness in both the formats, the reporting structures, and the regulatory expectations in them?
See, I think I will be taking from where Sachin has left. And in fact, as the layman, I will start with the sustainability and sustainable development because this is one topic which we speak on always. As a layman, what is important? And in fact, you must have seen the various advertisements on the television that 2030 or 2050 or 2100, students will be going to the school by oxygen mask and there will be no water, and water will also be, say, produced and bought at a very premium price like petrol. So that kind of advertisement we have already seen. So what the message this particular sustainability is going to give, that maintaining the ecosystem to continue over a longer period of time. And if we talk about maintaining the ecosystem, means it is, as Sachin has said, Mother Earth, entire universe, and in fact, triple P is always useful here. Planet first, P, because we live there. Then comes the people, second P, and then third P is prosperity. If planet will be there, then people will be there, and people will be there, then only they will be able to enjoy the prosperity. So equity to all, and in fact, if you will see Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 17, it is talking about eradicating hunger, giving good health to everyone, education to all. So all these 17 goals are aligned to these, say, 9 principles also. And 9 principle, and if you see the BRSR is also aligning it with the 9 principle of NGB-RBC. So having said so, you are saying that what is the difference between, I will not go into the nitty-gritty of the provision, I will say that the major difference between BRR and BRSR is S, sustainability. Of course, that was also taking care of the sustainability, and of course, that was also because business responsibility includes maintaining the sustainable development and environment. But S was the major factor, and in fact, alignment to the 9 principle of national guidelines for responsible business conduct is one of the major and key factor. And in fact, in the new regulations or say guidelines, indicators or KPI setting is also one of the important thing which has been done, wherein some essential indicators are there and some leadership indicators are there. In essential indicators becoming mandatory, because India is committed to maintain those things, and wherever India's commitment is there, and say timeline is very, very earlier, 30 or 2040 or 2047, then those commitments are coming into the form of essential indicator, which is mandatory, and companies are required to frame the policy in that regard and required to maintain and report it also. So that is one part. And then, of course, they have given the enough scope to become the leader also, that you be the leader and you set the precedent and let them other to follow. And that is why name, as the name suggests, leadership indicators. That means you becoming the leader and taking the lead into something. So that is what. So I will say 2-3 points. One is alignment to the 9 principle. Second, KPI. Giving and then proper format of reporting, and furthermore, as Sachin has highlighted in the presentation also, they have given the guidance also that how to report and how to follow those indicators, and some clarification is also there in the guidelines, which is making the life easier for the people to report.
Sachin sir, continuing on that thought itself, I wouldn't say last 2 decades, but in the last 5 decades, how would you word the ESG transformation, the transformation in the reporting structures, the frameworks in the Indian scenario particularly?
A very difficult question because see, if you see the reporting and especially the consolidated reporting, it is hardly in India parlance. I'm saying it's hardly 5-year-old child. I'm not saying it was not there. India has its own Air Pollution Act, Water Pollution Act, Environmental Protection Act, the Industrial Dispute Act 1946 or 48, if I'm not wrong.
48.
Then, 48. Then you have got PF Act, you have got gratuity, you have got everything. See, Consumer Protection Act came in 1986. So if you see historically, the regulation, and regulation, when I say it's all part of the regulation, they evolve with some or one instance. The Bhopal gas strategy, which was a very, very bad experience in the Indian context. So many people lost their life. the factories' importance to the environment grown manifold. Okay. Then your Enron scandal, 2000, the governance played a role and the reporting become more important in the corporate governance. 2008 Satyam scandal made some changes. Historically, if you see, somewhere we have got one case which shake up the entire ecosystem, and then we come up with something reactive. It's not like that. We are not having such thing in our constitution. Our constitution gives an obligation on every individual, every citizen of India to protect the environment. It's your fundamental duty, not right. It's your duty to do this. Have you ever challenged any individual or any person who is violating this duty? You will challenge for freedom of expression. You will challenge the companies for not giving the salaries on time. But have you ever challenged a company under the constitutional duty that they have towards the protection of the environment? It's a big no. You are challenging them on environment rules. They are disclosing their wastage, their input, their air pollution, their noise pollution, everything in a proper format. It's there. But this format is given to a regulatory body, which is a state government or maybe sometimes central government. That is E part of it. On the S part of it, everybody files their PF return, they file their gratuity, they file their ESIC return, the contract labor engagement return with either the state government or sometime with the central government. For the governance reporting, we all know that we are filing MCA forms, we are filing SEBI forms, we are filing RBI forms. All these three broad regulators, if you see, they are directly or indirectly collecting the data which today is asked by the ESG parameters in a consolidated form, which is called BRSR. And that data is going to SEBI. I mean, without any political comment, I'm saying, do we think though anybody in financial institutions like SEBI or regulators will they able to interpret the reporting of E of the BRSR? Or do you really need some other body who can actually oversee the reporting and they can come up with some suggestion to the corporate India or to the government of India? That's a question I leave with. Because this is the first time you are consolidating various disclosures which corporate India was already doing. They are doing with the state environmental bodies, they are doing with factories commissioner, they are doing with the labor commissioner, they are doing with ROC, they are doing with the PF office or the insurance regulator. They are doing it. Today you are asking it to showcase in a format to a market regulator in a consolidated manner. Whether they are actually matching each other. Has anybody seen the report which a corporate gives to a state government for the environmental protection or the air pollution norms? Have you checked that report with your BRSR report? Is it correlating each other or it's talking in a different sense altogether? Have anybody seen the report which goes to the PF office or the gratuity commissioner office with the BRSR report? I mean, we are very immature in that sense today. So somewhere this consolidation is needed. So Pooja, your question was, I don't know why you asked that question. It was a very political question, but that's what my individual thought. I again reiterate, it's my individual thought.
You actually have given us a plan for the next 50 years. Ranjit sir, what would be your thought on this?
Can you repeat the question?
Evolution of ESG.
Yes.
The evolution of ESG and the reporting frameworks in the past 50 years.
See, I think evaluation of ESG, Sachin has already said that what is the journey, or in fact, it's not say one day or one time process. If you can say, I think I can say that it is now 70, 80 years And in fact, I would like to share one slide wherein I have highlighted something in till 2015. And in fact, after 2015, there are other things also. So this will showcase you that how ESG is evolving. In fact, I have just mentioned the milestone, that what are the key milestones in ESG. So I think 1972 UN Stockholm Conference, Global Environment Assessment Plan has been laid down. Then United Nations Environment Plan, UNEP, one of the significant development which has happened. Then Common Future Report. And in fact, whenever I give the ESG presentation and sustainable development, I refer this particular definition given by the Common Future Report, where they have defined the sustainable development and guiding principles has been given. Then third is 1992 UN Framework Convention of Climate Change, that is called popularly known as Earth Summit, where Agenda 21 has been set up. Then Millennium Summit, 8 Millennium Development Goal, which has been converted later on to the SDG goals, UN Sustainable Development Goal in 2015. And it is given the guiding principle for sustainable development, and 17 SDG plans have been identified. And this is what from where every country has started moving and revolving around those 17 goals, and all 17 goals are important and significant for every country to follow, and to make the world actually Vasudev Kutumbakam, that everybody is concerned about unified and one uniform goals, that is 17 goals which has been set up by the UN. So this is what the development so far as ESG is concerned. Of course, BRSR evolution, Sachin has already given a very good slide into that how everything has started from the 2009, and I would say 2019 is the most important and significant development, where government MC has come out with the national guidelines for responsible business conduct, and that responsible business conduct guidelines have shaped the BRSR, BRR and everything. And now I would say, in fact, other day I was attending one meeting in the Mumbai NSC, organized by FICCI and NSC. From the IFRS Foundation, the people came for give the presentation on the ESG and reporting standards. And those standards they were talking about, that we have already developed the IFRS S1 and S2. So the count and GRI is also there. So you should follow these kind of standards. So I ask one very simple question, that you are talking about global standard. Local standards are also there. And for us, basically these 9 principles has become the local standard. Of course, it is principle based, nitty-gritty they are not talking about. But this is and in fact, standards should always be principle based. It should not be talking about the nitty-gritty. So we have already 9 principles, and on the basis of that, BRSR has been, designed. So why you are saying that one set of a standard I should be following if I already have the principle based standard? So he was able to give the answer, and he's saying that developing the uniform standard and one single standard is not possible across the globe. But yes, we can work together on developing the principles. So of course, principle based development can be done and can be taken up. But if you think that everybody should follow one single standard, that is impossible to follow. That is what I want to say. So development is happening in the ESG also, and reporting also. And in fact, I will say that it will keep happening, and now it will happen with a very significant pace. I'll stop it.
Sachin sir, we have been talking about BRSR. Let's go back a bit to the roots. As Sir mentioned, the national guidelines. Can we shed some light on briefly on the guidelines that have been prescribed and what are the expectations from us?
Yeah, Sachin. Question
Am I
please.
audible, sir?
Just 1 minute. Yeah. Just 1 minute. I also want to just share one thing on the same part. What the question which you asked. So first, you see this principle which I had actually mentioned. Yeah. So this is the principle or the genesis of BRSR, which we are talking about. The ninth principle, which Ranjit also mentioned, and National Guideline for Responsible Business Conduct. And if you see 2009, when the national guidance for the voluntary disclosure came, more or less these nine principle was taken from this national guidance. So if you read this nine principle, it talks about ethics, transparency, accountability, product lifetime sustainability, life cycle. It's not just product development, employee well-being, stakeholder engagement, human right, environment, policy advocacy, inclusive growth, and equitable development. And last but not the least is the consumer values. Now, if you see these guidance, the ethics, transparency, and accountability. And let me tell you one thing, as I just said few minutes back, being a company secretary and being taught about the importance of governance in my curriculum, when I get engaged by a corporation, I try to make sure that they follow those governance practices. So disclosure of these guidance in a BRSR format is kind of thing given. I tell you, you ask more than 70% company secretary, they will say they are having best disclosure of these principles. So that is given. I mean, you don't have to talk. That's our bread and butter. But the fact lies in the detailing of it. Ethics, transparency, accountability. There are KPIs, number of whistleblower complaint received, and what is your mechanism of solving. What is the policy of ethics and transparency? Of course, everybody will say that yes, we have got this ethic committee, we got this tool to handle our whistleblowers, etc., etc. You and me takes the wireless cab services every day, correct? You and me both takes. I don't know if Ranjit sir takes or no, but I takes, Those wireless cab services, if they have some issue, just try to raise the grievance and you see the response, how does it comes. You don't know whether you are talking to a human that side or you are talking to a machine that side. They really understand your concern or they are just talking English, and maximum time they are actually talking English. So that's number one, whether you should check the KPIs. Product life cycle sustainability. The KPI says percentage of product designed with sustainability consideration. I mean, if that's the parameter, do you really think that we will all sit in our AC cabins with this plastic bottle of water? I mean, we need to really introspect where the KPIs is there. Then call employee well-being. I mean, less said is good. I tell you, I had an opportunity to assess one of the biggest FMCG company of India, and more than some 30-40,000 crore turnover. And it was actually some award on employee relation and the industrial relation. So I said, how many employees do you have? They said, some 8,000. I said, amazing. In FMCG, can you deliver 50,000 crore turnover with the 8,000 employees? Then we deep dive into, then we understood there was some 1 lakh people who are working, they are called associates. I mean, no commitment by the company. The difference between a normal employee and the associate was almost 4 times the salary. And I'm sure they must be getting PF and all. But the difference is 4 times the salary of a normal employee, and this associate were getting 4 times lesser. So that's another KPI need to be checked. Stakeholder engagement, KPI is again stakeholder engagement, action taken. We are reporting to SEBI also. Human rights, number of human rights grievances, policies, training, that's a KPI. Environmental, greenhouse gas emission, water energy consumption, waste management practices. It's very technical thing. Somebody really need to understand whether a company secretary should certify this or it should be certified by some sustainability expert. Policy advocacy, as a country, we are still very immature. I mean, you can go to countries like US where advocacy or lobbying is actually allowed, and you have to disclose that I have given this much money to a party. And in India, it's only Supreme Court who can get the data; nobody else get the data. Inclusive growth and equitable development, investment in community or development project, initiative to support local business supplier, and last but not least is a consumer value. And consumer value KPI, again, Pooja, I will say my first KPI of your wireless service cab and the consumer value which company will offer. So these are the 7 principles on which the BRSR framework or the genesis of BRSR framework was laid down. As I said, disclosure everybody is doing. Why they are doing? Because we are there. I mean, we are being employed. We have to make that disclosure. But when you go to the KPIs of those indicators, those principles, where it is coming from, it really need a micromanagement. And somewhere the practicing company secretaries are now being given that thankful to the institute for the same. They need to really go to the deep dive of these KPIs of the individual principles. So that.
Yes, Pooja. In fact, I would like to go on bit on the theory part of it. Sachin has shared already practical part, because I feel that people are still trying to understand the concept and trying to understand that how to get into the ESG and BRSR reporting. So particularly practicing side of the professional employment side, wherever it is applicable, they are managing and they are doing, whether it is applicable mandatorily or voluntarily. So again, I will share some of the slides, I would say, and that will help everyone to understand the 9 principle and how it is relevant and how it is, say, aligned to the BRSR. So in fact, there are sections which have been, say, framed. And in fact, these are the 3 sections I would mention that section-wise disclosure in BRSR. Section 1 is talking about general disclosure. So this is the background, and in the general disclosure, whatever we are disclosing in the corporate governance norms that is coming. Then section B is management and process disclosure, where first part is talking about policy and management processes. So everything is relating to the framing of policy, how it is approved, and how processes will be followed. And second part will be governance, leadership, and oversight, that how the policies should be governed, aligned, and managed. Main and most important part is section C, and where it is talking about the principle by performance disclosure. And I have already mentioned that companies are required to report on the KPIs aligned with the 9 principles of NGRBC. So, and those KPIs has been divided into 2 parts: essential indicator, which is mandatory, and leadership indicators. So essential and leadership indicators are there. Like a scope 3 emissions, scope 1 and scope 2 may be, say, coming into the first part, essential. But scope 3, since it is a very, tough norms, so it may come at later stage, and it will be coming as a voluntary indicator at later stage. 9 principles we have already discussed. So as far as company secretaries are concerned, if you are going to align it, so for the convenience of everyone, I have just tried to align it with the principle. So 9 principles Sachin has already mentioned. First, 4, 7, and 9 is relating to governance. P3, P5, and P8 is relating to the social. and P2 and P6 are relating to environment. So this way you will be able to categorize it that what is coming in E, what is coming in S, and what is coming in G. Of course, it is interlinked and interrelated also. I will not say that like say for example, POSH or CSR. It may be linked to all three. So I'm not saying that it is not linkable, but it is linkable, but still you can bifurcate. Now coming on to the most important part, policy alignment. Everybody is framing the policy. Sachin has already mentioned a very good points that you are framing the policy, you are implementing. But on the ground, what is happening? You are yourself not confident. And if you see the BRSR reports of the various corporates, some of the corporations are doing wonderful job. I must compliment them. But most of the companies, some of is fine, but most of the companies, what they are reporting and what there is on the ground, it is entirely different thing. In fact, they need to work a lot on that. Then only will be coming to it. So as far as policy alignment is concerned, I have tried to align these 5 policies on the P1 part: ethics, integrity, transparency, and accountability, code of conduct for board and senior management, code of conduct for supplier and vendor, anti-bribery, anti-corruption policy, prevention of policy on prevention of insider trading, RPT, whistleblower policy. All these are relating to the governance, integrity, and ethics of the board and senior management and every employee of the organization. P2, safe goods and services. Of course, sustainable supply chain policy, fair sustainable use policy, product stewardship policy, supplier code of conduct. Then P3, well-being of employees, health and safety, employee welfare benefits, POSH, equal opportunity, equal compensation, policy to recruit and retain especially able human resources. Then comes P4 and P5, stakeholder engagement and inclusive policy, grievance redressal policy, CSR policy, POSH, protection of human right, anti-harassment and anti-discrimination policy. Then P6, environment commitment, environment management, climate change policy, e-waste management policy, biodiversity, ecological sustainable policy. Then P7, 8, 9, antitrust and fair competition policy, supplier diversity inclusion, CSR, cyber security, data protection, and quality related policies. So this kind of policy alignment, and in fact, after identifying the stakeholders and finalizing the stakeholder engagement, once you have done, then second stage for the ESG integration is most important stage is policy framing and alignment of the policies with the 9 principles. If you are able to align it better, then you will be able to do wonders in the impact creation. And then reporting is just a consequence. I always say reporting is nothing but the consequence, but we do reverse. We prepare the good format and concentrate more on the reporting rather than the planning and policy integration. So my point is that stakeholder engagement, stakeholder identification, understanding the business, and then aligning all the policies, whatever is there in the organization with 9 principle and BRSR reporting is the must and important. Then reporting will automatically happen and it will be a very good reporting always.
Just to add upon Ranjit's point, alignment of the policy, he rightly mentioned that, we are very good in the formatting and uploading, but when it comes to real implementation, there is a very thin line of difference between getting inspired and copying somebody. And I tell you, maximum policies, if you see in corporate area, they are so commonly copied. You can see some of the companies, the words are also same. So you have to be very careful when you actually draft a policy. You need to draft a policy for your company, yourself, not simply copy from somewhere and paste it in your website.
Yes.
I was coming to you on this only, Sachin sir, the ESG integration part. That any practical examples you could share with us on this one?
I mean, see, to be honest with you, Pooja, as a corporate India, of course, I mentioned that, for the ESG, uh, to achieve the benefit of 2047. See, India also, if you see, 4 year back, we had a target that by 2047 we will be carbon neutral economy. I'm talking the India per se. That goal was shifted from 47 to 70 now. By 2070, India would be the net zero emitting country. Why it has happened? It was not just overday thinking. Somewhere the people sitting in Niti Aayog, they worked out, okay, look, boss, you need a fund. If you really have to close a coal power thermal station, then what is a substitute? Your energy demand is increasing every year, and a lot of power companies are coming. Renewable powers are coming, nuclear power are coming, the I can say pump storage power are coming. So many power companies are coming. Unless and until you do R&D and the investment in that sector, the ultimate goal of the ESG cannot be achieved. So best example, corporate India really want to do it. They know that it gives them the good brand. Today, if you see all the AGMs of a company, their theme of AGM report is sustainability. Every big corporate AGM, if you attend, it says sustainability is their theme. And they also commit for investment in a sustainability initiative. So, number one, yes, corporate India is seeing a brand in the ESG compliance. That's given. Let us not argue. We all see that. If I tell you that I am a company which engages in a renewable energy, you will see me with pride. But at the same time, if I tell you, look, I'm a company which is in a coal energy, you will say, boss, you are a dirty fellow. So we see that it's a brand is there. But as a corporate India, we don't see the competitive advantage. We don't see that. We don't see that today. If I sell and it's not a very old story. I tell you my own example. In Bombay suburban or Mumbai, which is today, we used to get our milk in a glass bottle every day morning. The glass bottle milk will come at your door. You use it and you give it back. Today, the milk across the India is in plastic. Across the India, maybe Tetra Pak or in plastic. You need to give that subsidies, give those benefits to the corporate India that they feel there is a competitive advantage in the ESG practices. And that can come only from the government. You can see government is really supporting the EV infrastructure in the India, and there is a PLI schemes for that. We expect that government should also focus from their side what they are going to give in the ESG implementation initiatives. As I mentioned in the beginning, the investment globally is 1.4 trillion, 1.3 trillion dollar, where the requirement is 10 trillion dollar. Where the delta is going to come, that somewhere the riches of the world have to sit together and decide. If you really implement those initiatives, then of course there are so many best practices today. If you see in various part of the, especially European country, they are going away with the coal power station. They said we don't want a coal power station. In fact, India has a target that by 2030 we will not going to produce the diesel engine car. Of course, they have extended it further. Somewhere these example, if you see, are the example of the ESG practices which is really there on the ground. Or if you see the real estate companies in India, they give you a building which is sustainable building. You have to give a society which is sustainable society. Recently, I had an opportunity to visit one foreign country, Singapore. There they have a motto, not city, not jungle in the city. They have a motto called city in the jungle. See, it's a very thin line of difference. Somebody will say, what's the difference in that? But then I visited one of my relatives' place, and in his society, it's almost more than 800 rooms are there in the society. They say they have not cut a single tree. They made the society around the trees and everything. Just see, I mean, if you really have to showcase a real estate developers in India, then you have to come up with those ESG practices where the land use or the water use is not reported in your books, but it is felt on the site. When I go to the site, I can feel, yes, there is really followed. So these are the few examples which I have seen how the corporates have actually, and see, I'm very fortunate that belong to the group where the maternity benefit or the PF or the gratuity benefit was much before the law came into the picture. So you really have to, as a corporate, have to think out of the box. Just doing a compliance checkbox approach is not going to really achieve the ultimate objective of 2047 or 2070. So that's what I would say about some of the best practices across which I have experienced.
Ranjit, so your experience, the best practices side?
I think Sachin is always going more on practical part, so I'll again go on the theory part. so, so if you talk about this ESG integration, and this is what the question is, I think I will focus more on the planning part. And in fact, has rightly pointed out. And in fact, in the beginning, I have also said that whosoever is planning the ESG integration in the organization need to understand the top to bottom, the business of the company. And once you are able to understand the business, then definitely your 50% of the job has already been done. And rest of the part is, of course, planning and integration part. And if you want to understand what could be the stages for the ESG integration, so just have the look on the screen. You will find that I am always saying that stakeholder engagement is always on the top to bottom collaborative approach, that you are collaborating with the each and every stakeholder. And Sachin has given a very good point that it may be human, it may not be human. So stakeholder, normally we feel that who are the beneficiary or who are impacted. Of course, beneficiaries and a person who are getting impacted or impacting us are stakeholder, but who are not human, like our universe, like our planet, they are also stakeholder. So top to bottom collaborative approach is the first part. Then I have given the thrust on the policy framing. It should be legally compliant, fine. That 9 principles are there, BRSR guidelines are there, guidance note is there. There may be some standards also. Legally compliant is one part, but focus should always be on the impact. What impact you are going to create, and on the ground, actually, you are going to create impact or not. If you are not at all going to create the impact by making that policy and setting that particular goal or target, then there is no meaning of, say, integration and adoption. Third point is integrating all your goals and targets with the 9 principles. Then comes the BRSR section wise alignment. You align your all policies and 9 principles with the BRSR so that reporting becomes easy at later stage. You should also thinking about, I'm not saying that report, I said in the beginning that it is just a consequence. Of course, it is a consequence, but alignment has to be done, that this particular part I will be reporting in this section, this particular part I will be reporting in this one. So policy review, if you will be able to get the independent assessment done, then also it will be fine. And in fact, I will not say audit. In the slide, it is written as audit, but assessment is the right word. And in fact, people are now going not on the assurance, but on the assessment part. That assessment may be there, not the assurance, because assurance will take it to the one particular, say, professional body or professionals. So it should be assessment, and assessment, whosoever have the experience and say practical exposure of the ESG should be able to do the assessment. Then reporting mechanism, of course, there are many standards Sachin has mentioned about. Those standards, one of the standard can be adopted, and of course BRSR principle can be followed. And then you go for the approval, and then finally transition. Once you have done the transition, at the year end you are required to report. So reporting will be, of course, be in the BRSR format. So this is what the ESG say integration and adoption mechanism, what we need to follow. So this is what I wanted to add on what Sachin has said. Of course, this is completing the whole answer now.
So, BRSR, the report that is prepared in the room of a legal and compliance officer, needs information which is collated from the entire year and from the entire nation, probably, if a company has an expansive base. How can a company actually bring about that transformation throughout all its places of activity, throughout its operations, departments, and then bring about, because it is only in our last session that we had discussed that the report is actually the storytelling from the company's side as to how the activities have been done. But in reality, how can there be monitoring and then effective reporting?
Yeah.
Sachin, sir?
I mean, as far as the collecting information or the comprehensiveness of the BRSR, as you just asked, Pooja, if you see, and it's really really interesting to know that if you go to a PSU bank, and that PSU bank has a branch across the India. It has a branch in Jammu Kashmir also. It has a branch in Manipur also, Pondicherry also. Okay, and same thing goes with the post office of the. Now your BRSR says that you have to give your energy consumption in a gigajoule format. Now integrating that particular information and then informing that information is one thing. Some companies have got maybe 6 or 7 lakhs of employees. Getting the information from them about their well-being or about their assessment toward the company's policies is again a challenge. That's where, as I mentioned in my presentation, the importance of BRSR tools is very important, very important. And I was recently coming through one of the practices by the Microsoft, and I'm sorry to take the name, that if you see their ESG practices and how they report, and it is coming from the CEO himself. And sometime you should he has delivered one lecture. I'm missing that, like where he has delivered, but he has mentioned how he has become so clear and transparent in some of the product development, and especially the co-pilots, AI, or those things. And he gave the example of his own personal life. He said, my son was specially abled, and during his childhood, I was very anxious what he will do and how it will, and I was agitated. But that's where he draw the inspiration also. And he visited various jurisdiction, various geography to see the product which the company is selling to the consumer, how consumer is adopting that product, and what is their expectation from the product. And that's where when he became CEO, you can see the major shift in the Microsoft happened, whether it is Copilot, whether it is Bing, or whether it is other thing. They come up with the ideas where this product is also user friendly. So not only people with eyes and ear can use the product, but people with a special ability can also use the product. That's where I feel the ESG practices can give you some headwind, and corporate can learn from this. So that's what I say about Pooja on that.
Ranjit, sir, theory side or practical?
I think that is sufficient. We can move to the next question maybe.
Okay. So moving from the Indian scenario to the global side, the global reporting standards, the global scenarios, the global reporting frameworks, what would be your take on it? Sachin, sir?
I mean, see, to be honest with you, one thing is very clear in India, we are going with the BRSR framework, and we can see a lot of companies, they are also giving the reference to NFRD, CSRD, TCFD, SASB, or GRI, or the other reference, and then they are mapping it. As you have seen in Ranjit's presentation, he has mapped the 9 principles in the ESG forum. The good part is that in the annual report of BRSR, if you see, they are mapping it. But the company's annual account, company's annual report, if you see, they are the financial reporting. They are not the sustainability reporting, or I can't say they are the. And I think few years back, the corporate India had started giving integrated reporting, because integrated reporting has a 6 principles which include people and various other parameters of this thing. And I feel that was a better reporting than merely a financial reporting. Because if you see Europe, they have got various reporting like your CSRD, GRI, TCFD, and especially in US, if you see, they have got SEC related GRI framework, and India has its own framework, and Middle East has its own framework. We got multiple level of framework for a same industry across the globe. Somewhere this integration is required, because if suppose more and more geography as a corporate I will cover, I need to give ease of doing operation and ease of doing business. We all know that there is a global target that we have to make the earth more sustainable. To achieve that target, every country has come up with their own reporting format to the corporates. Now, that is the responsibility of the UN and UNPRI, that they should talk to their member country. There should be a uniformity or some ease in the reporting of the format by the corporates who are conglomerate. There are companies who are having presence in India also. There are companies who are having presence more than 100 countries. If those companies start giving report to every country in a different format, then the idea of ease or idea of sustainability is also died. Because then UN is failed to give a platform to us where we can say, look, this is the format I'm giving you a report. And you as an agency, whether it is UN, whether it is WTO, or whether it is anybody else, you please take this format and allow me a time to do business, because my role is to do business, not to just do reporting. So there are so many format, and there is a challenges in a format. See, I am not going into the nitty gritty of the format. Of course, TCFD has its own way of reporting. GNPRI has its own way of reporting, or maybe SASB has its own way of reporting, and their methodology and their materiality is different. We are not denying that, but the industry in which a person forms, whether it is a good industry, whether it is a service industry, coal mining, aviation, whether it is hospitality, whether it is hotel, that industry remain the same across the globe. Unless until you are doing some business which has not been invented in the world, you are coming with a cryptocurrency business, or you are coming with a gaming business which is not there. If you don't come up with some business which is not uniform or global, then somewhere you should try to give a platform where integrated reporting should be promoted. And especially in India, it should be promoted if you don't expect from any other country.
Ranjit sir, your global experience.
Pooja, just want to add, in fact, Sachin has rightly pointed out that uniformity, and in fact, India has BRSR, and there are a lot of principles which have been given into that. My take on this is that I think reporting is important. Standards you may follow, standard you may not follow, or you may follow the mix of the standards. Because if you go and follow the various, say, continents or various countries like Europe, America, or Africa, Asia, Africa, Latin America, there are different set of, say, way of following. They are mixing and merging the standards. They are not saying that, particularly I would say, talk about the Europe. Europe has most robust ESG reporting framework, and they are far ahead as far as other countries are concerned, and they have something mandatory also, like India. But if you go to America, everything is becoming voluntary. And in fact, I have mentioned that last week I have gone for the meeting of ISSB. So ISSB is also we are all aware that they are developing the standard IFRS S1 and S2. Two standards they have already launched in regard to the reporting. And in that meeting also, we mention about the GRI, because GRI, and in fact, they have MOU with the GRI also. And that MOU tells the everything and tells the story. What is the MOU? They are saying that we will try to work together on the development of the principles and way of reporting. We will not try to bring uniform standard. So they don't want to bring the uniform standard. They want to work together on the sustainability and sustainable reporting and framing the standards and principles. This is what. So if I talk about their S1 or S2, they want to propagate, but at the same time, they are not demeaning GRI. And every principle or every standard, you may find something important. Like in GRI, you will be finding topic specific standards. That this is the topic, you follow the standard. Similarly, if you go on the SASB, you will be finding the industry or sector based say standards and sustainability reporting. So if you want to highlight your sector specific thing, you follow SASB. If you want to highlight the say topic specific thing, maybe say 9 principle as we are doing in the India, that is topic specific across industry, well-being of employee, stakeholder engagement, environment, all these principles are across the board. You are operating in any industry, you may have to or you may be going to follow these 9 principles. So we are into the 9 principle base. So the GRI is that they are talking about topic specific standards. SASB is talking about industry specific or maybe mostly non-financial impact creation. So this is what they are doing. Task force on climate related financial disclosure, they are more on the financial disclosure part and impact creation. Then there is another concept that EU CSRD and then B Corp. So there are many standards, and in fact, apart from these standards which are more into the various countries, there are local standards also. And those local standards become more meaningful to you because you are into that particular environment and operating there. So I would say that standard framing may go and go and go on until the time we have, say, common standards or say common principles accepted by every, say, country globally. Then convenient would be that follow your own standards and concentrate upon the reporting and impact creation, and then followed by reporting should, as you have said, that it should be storytelling, that what you have initiated, what you have done, and what you are able to get it. That's it.
So even with all the guidance, even with all these information that we are meting out, company secretaries are somewhere a bit on the back foot. They're yet to understand how to go about doing the non-financial reporting. Is there a small flowchart kind of process that they can follow?
Yes, sir, this is for you because
Yes,
this
I would.
responsibility lies on the institute.
And in fact, see, Pooja, answer lies in your question. That whether company secretaries are struggling. I in fact don't agree with the question, because financial was always part of the chartered accountants and they were doing. We are always on the governance and compliance part. We are always on the non-financial part. If you talk about the secretarial audit event or corporate governance report, all are governance and not relating to financial. Having said so, I am not saying that finance is not going to, so your understanding should not be there on the finance. I'll take one example, and I always give this example in the CLDP sessions also. Related party transaction. Reporting and disclosure of related party transaction. I'm going out of the context, but let me take it through that particular example. Related party transaction. I always say that it is a governance and compliance related. 188 then SEBI regulation, and then disclosure, compliances, all is required to be reported. Arm's length, ordinary course of business, and so on and so forth. So I said it is non-financial disclosure, governance and compliance related disclosure, and you need to follow it. Then a student comes that if we go and do the analysis, financial part will be involved. We were like, yes, financial part will be involved. And you need to understand and know how these kind of transactions are happening. You may get the approval, you may get the reports, you may get the disclosures, but if you need to check it, then you should understand that what is the purchase transaction, what is the sale transaction, what is the supply of goods transaction, what is the, and from where it will be coming from the balance sheet or financial statement of the company. Similarly, in the ESG, now coming to the ESG, policy framing, again, part of the, I have told you how to integrate. And if you go on to the ESG reporting parameters also, stakeholder engagement, I have said the first thing. No other person can do better than the company secretary. No other person, number one. Policy framing was the number two. We are making the policy. Where we are lacking is that grassroots level involvement before framing the policy. Sachin has rightly mentioned that copy-paste exercise is happening so much that we are not going deep into what we are writing actually, whether it is belonging to my company or not. If it is not belonging to my company, why I am mentioning that particular line in my policy? So understand your business first, and then try and draft it and align it with your business, and then align it with the what goals and targets your organization and management has set, and how you are going to achieve out of this policy and implementation of these policies. So second part was the policy framing. Third part is, of course, integration. Again, I'm saying there may be a lot of technocrats will be involved. And in fact, ESG or BRSR is not, say, one person job. It is a teamwork, and including top management, including technical expert, including, your employee or labor department or production department or say innovation department. Every department is engaged. And in fact, IT department will also be coming into picture because lot of data integration and lot of data mongering will be required to be done. So that part, of course, you have to do with the togetherness. You have to take everybody onto the board so that you should be able to do it properly. Then comes the getting the policies and say goal and target approved. Again, you are connected to the board. You are connected to the board. And if you are connected to the board and you are the key nodal person in the organization who is talking in the bottom also and top also. So you are engaged at the bottom also. You can always go deep down, and you can work parallelly also. You can go on the top also. So all three levels you are working. So again, company secretary is the best person to fetch the data, collate the data, and then get it to the board and give some kind of comparison analysis that yes, it is there. You can always take the help of the experts. So taking help of the expert is always essential, particularly in ESG. Approval, and then comes the implementation part, last part. And of course, not last, but one, and then finally reporting. Then implementation and integration you have done, then implementation. If you are going to do the implementation and actual, events connected to the ESG, this is job of the basically various team and technical people involved. Collation of the data for the reporting is again your job. For that, format setting or what kind of software you are going to bring into the organization, take the help of the expert. What kind of data you are wanting, what is the quality of the data, what is the authenticity of the data, what is the sample size. These all important things you can decide with the help of the specific committee you have or subcommittee or maybe board. So that part you can always take care, and collation of the data if once done, then putting into in the report again, it is a forte of the company secretary, and you can always report. So I can say I have highlighted you 6 part total. Out of 6, only third one and fifth one, I think experts help is required. 3 can exclusively be done by the company secretaries. First part is stakeholder engagement, second part policy framing, fourth part approvals, and fifth part sixth part reporting. So out of 6, 4 you can do. So this is what my say word to all the practicing company secretary or company secretary working in the organization. Sachin, you may supplement.
I definitely seek his practical experience on this.
No, I think he rightly mentioned. And see, these are the expectation of the institute or expectation of the fraternity from us, and which is fair, and that's why we are here. But you know, when I see my curriculum as a company secretary, and when I see my training as a company secretary, 15-month training, and then those things, uh, somewhere we need to bring in these dynamics in the role and in the practical aspects of the company secretary's this thing. Why this is important? Because we are having our books which cover everything, all the 9 volume, they have everything, laws and everything. When it comes to implement those things in actual life, the 15 months training and the 1 month this thing, somewhere I feel to a person, that's that's something. It's my belief. It's not something which is sufficient, and that needs some deep dive by the institute, so that we are sending in a market product. Company secretary as a product, which Ranjit has mentioned, have all these 4 ingredients inbuilt into it by the inception. Otherwise, the same thing will happen. You are copy pasting your policy, and sometimes you forget that you are not a goods company, you are a service company, or vice versa. So that's what I would like to mention here.
So we've received a few questions from our members.
Pooja, I just want to add one, in fact, display one slide onto this particular question itself before we go to the next question. This is very important. That's why I have thought it appropriate to share it for the benefit of all the company secretaries. What are the key elements of BRSR drafting? And don't consider it as that only link it to the drafting part. I think right from the beginning, of course, drafting is again storytelling. I have picked up the word now. So first is decoding and understanding the ESG parameters, understanding the business and vis-a-vis your ESG parameters, what goals and targets your organization has fixed and what they are going to do. Then form a multidisciplinary team in regard to innovation, in regard to data management, in regard to data fetching, in regard to say surveys and say impact creation and all the things. Then third one is align the goals and performance with the value and objective of the ESG and whatever organization has set. Fourth is materiality and prioritization of the issue. What is important? What is your essential indicators? What is your leadership indicator? Bifurcate into that. And in fact, priority setting is very important. That what is you are going to achieve by 2025, what you are going to achieve by 2027, 2030, and so forth. So that prioritization part, and in fact, it will make your job easy to report and compare that. Last year, I was at this percentage. Say, for example, carbon emission I have reduced by 20%. Next year, I am going to reduce by 50%. And by 2030, I will be zero, carbon neutral. So this way, stage setting can be done and prioritization can be done, that whether I want to concentrate more on the water at the beginning year, or maybe carbon on the becoming the carbon neutral, and so forth, whatever is your goal and target. Then data collection and analysis for the purpose of reporting. Defining the reporting channels. from where you will be getting value chain partners and so on and so forth. There are many aspects which are involved into the reporting also. You may be dependent on the data to be received from the various segments or various stakeholders. So that particular part is also given. So these are the main elements of the BRSR reporting. If we'll be able to concentrate on these elements, then we will be able to frame the, set the goal and targets also easily. We'll be able to frame the policies as well, and we will be able to report also good. Now you can go to the questions, Pooja.
Thank you, sir. We have received a few questions from our members, and all of these pertain to the practical side of the framework, the report that is to be submitted. And the floor is open to both of you, whosoever would want to answer that. So the first one is, in Principle 1.9, how to calculate the concentration of sales if the company has a wide range of products. This pertains to the...
Yes, Sachin.
So actually, the answer lies in the question itself. He said concentration of the sale, and just on a few 2 minutes back, Ranjit has mentioned the materiality. See, in your FMCG product, you are a 10,000 crore company, but 8,000 crore comes from toothpaste. So your concentration is on toothpaste. Give your materiality aspect, focus on concentration of those. That's number one. Second way of looking at, you are having FMCG, you are having toothpaste also, then you are having a sabun, tail, everything. But the most polluting substance is a tail. Give concentration on that. Or you are a FMCG company, you are a hospitality company, and you are also producing tobacco, cigarette. Give focus on that. So I think specs needs to be important. Number one, of course, materiality from a turnover perspective, that which is the product which is high in the entire product offering. Number two, the product which is highly polluting, or the product which is looked from a carbon emission norms perspective. Those are the two things. If you judge, I think that's a kind of reporting. But over to you, Ranjit sir.
Yeah, I think I will go back again on the theory part. Question is practical, but the answer lies in the theory. And I have said in the beginning that what is sustainability or what is sustainable development? Sustainability is maintaining the ecosystem and ability to continue over a longer period of time. That means, say, whatever resources you are using or consuming, or whatever waste you are going to create or impact you are going to create on the environment or society, it should be such that you should be able to preserve everything for the future generations also. That is one. So having said so, answer lies in the question that what should be my material thing and what should be. E and S should be more important. G is, of course, every company is following and they are supposed to follow. Governance is one thing that every corporate is required to follow. So G, I am not concentrating, that is already taken care of. If at all it is taken care of. I am saying E and S. If your product is such very small portion of your business, like tobacco company, or I don't want to name the company, but it is in the hospitality also and tobacco also. So you can take the very classic example. Hospitality company may not be, tobacco business might be 30% of the entire business or 20% of the entire business, and hospitality and fast moving consumer goods may be 80% of the business. But concentration, where concentration will go? 20%. Because it is impacting E also and S also. The workers who are engaged into the process, their lifestyle, their future, their livelihood, their equitable distribution of the resources, all these things are required to be taken care. Number one. Number two, it is impacting E also. So if it is impacting E and S both, then more concentration should be there, because ultimately you are going to report the indicator and impacts. What indicator you have set and what impact it has created ultimately to the larger goal. Larger goal means SDG goals. You're on mute.
Thank you. So the next question is, please advise us on the tools which can be used to conduct a gap analysis of current reporting practices followed by the company.
Yes, Sachin.
I mean that's something a tool should be used for the gap analysis or only a reporting this thing. To be honest with you, that's something which is an advertisement question. But nevertheless, it is a company secretary himself who should try to find out. I mean, if you are really trying to achieve the goals which are given in your TCFD framework or the SASB framework, whether those goals are actually addressed in a BRSR reporting or not, it is only you who can decide, and you should take a call. But somewhere you, as an individual, as a company secretary, sit down with the business team, try to find out what is the requirement of BRSR and the reporting structure of the material format like GRI, SASB, or TCFD, whatever you are following. What is the expectation here in SEBI format and what we are adopting as an organization from a business side of it? That's something you have to discuss with the business team and do your own gap assessment rather than completely dependent on some tool to give you that answer. Because ultimately that answer will not be fair or the actual assessment. That's what my belief is.
In fact, very good answer, I would say, because it is always depending on the company to company and segment in which you are operating, because segment is also very important, what kind of business you have. So there is no universal tool or universal, say, system for the analysis. I think every company has the different way. In fact, Sachin has said advertisement question, so I think we should not be naming any company or product for the purpose of, say, particularly at this platform.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, but I have another meeting to go for, Pooja. I mean, if you just
I
quickly.
think we are just 2-3 minutes. We are winding up. You can,
Yes.
yeah.
So this is just one last question that I have, which is
One
BRSR.
last question you can ask from Sachin, and thereafter he may leave. And if you want to ask some, say, closing questions to, if it is left, then you can. Yeah.
So the last question is that BRSR is to be reported as a part of annual report or on a standalone basis.
I mean, see, the practice followed is, of course, it's an annual report. Everybody do that. But if you actually ask me, it should be a standalone reporting, and it should not be financial year reporting. It should be calendar year reporting. And why calendar year? Why not financial year? So the pain of reporting the two report only company secretary in corporate can tell you. So I would suggest that particular exercise should be left to the discretion of a corporate company secretary, that choose the calendar year reporting for BRSR reporting and make your financial reporting separate. And I tell you, it will also give more meaning at the year end. You can see your share prices. Mark my word. Because if your BRSR reporting is out somewhere in January, I'm sure there are market readers who will read that report and they will give their analysis on the report. And definitely after the financial report, both the BRSR report and financial year report will give a clear indication on the market price or the share price, which could be clearly visible. So that's what my submission is. and it should be annual, but it should be calendar year, not should be financial year.
I just want
I
to
mean, that's
add
what
one
my
thing.
position.
I just want to add one thing. I think question is saying that it should be part of or a standalone. Everything in the annual report is standalone. Annual report is a collation and combination of the various report. First answer to this is it is not annual. What is annual report? It is combination of the reports. So BRSR is always going to be a standalone report which will be part of the annual report. This is what I wanted to add.
With that, I would like to thank you, Sachin sir, for the practical side, for the expectations that you have from us, and the examples that you have shared during this journey. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Pooja, and thank you, Ranjit sir, as always. Thank you.
Ranjit sir, moving to our next question. How do we calculate the purchasing power parity that is given in principle number 6?
What was the question?
In principle number 6,
Mm-hmm.
there is computation of purchasing power parity.
Mm-hmm.
How do we go about doing that? How do we calculate that?
Just 1 minute. Principle number 6, you are saying business should respect and make efforts to protect and restore the environment. Purchasing power parity. See, honestly, I will not be able to answer this particular question because this is very technical, and in fact, I'll be going deep into it. It will be a say comparison, and a lot of data will be required, and analysis will be required to be done.
Okay. This is a very generic and broad-based question that we have with us. Is ESG effectively put in place in India? Since we've been talking about it on various forums, where do we stand in practical reality terms?
See, it has already made mandatory to 1,000 companies.
Right.
Up 1,000 company, it has already made mandatory. And in going forward, it is going to be made mandatory to all listed entity maybe in times to come. So ESG has already started making wave. And in fact, I would say that it is not mandatory only to the, say, listed entities who are having market capitalization of 1,000 top companies. It is also applicable to the value chain partners. So these companies are required to report what their value chain partners are doing. And one listed entity has maybe having hundreds of the value chain partners. They may be sourcing the material from somewhere. That material they are sourcing, that should also be sustainable. Product they are buying, that should also be sustainable. So what I am saying that sustainability is applicable not only on that company, all other associated companies, group company, value chain partners are also required to follow those norms and principles so that reporting can be done. And in fact, one of the important aspects which I think we were supposed to discuss is value chain partners. Maybe say buyer or supplier of the goods and services, they are forming part of the value chain partners. They may be top, they may be on the bottom, and they are also required to follow certain principles and norms to integrate that particular part with the company which is going to report in the BRSR. So I'm saying that a lot of headway has already been done. We have traveled from the voluntary guidelines to BRR to BRSR. So these 3 stages has already been crossed. National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct is making the principles, commitment of India to UN SDG goals. All these things are there. And the kind of environment we are living into, Delhi touching 50, 51, 52 degrees centigrade, in the Parali burning season, you see the atmosphere of Delhi, or Mumbai is getting that kind of rains So all across the India and all the hill stations are getting the landslide every year. So this kind of atmosphere we are living. So climate is really going to change. Social equity and justice is, of course, in a bad state. So we need to work upon that also. So you closely look into those nine principles. You will be able to say establish, or you will be able to conclude that ESG is inevitable, BRSR reporting is inevitable, times to come, every company by, I'm not saying voluntary, by way of mandate, government will mandate it and every company will have to follow. And time is not far, maybe down the line 5 years, not more than that, because we are in the alarming situation.
I guess that brings us to the conclusion of this session.
Just last thing I wanted to share for the benefit of the members. In fact, one more slide I would like to share, and thereafter we may conclude. Opportunity for the company secretaries and professionals. Very, very important part, that what actually you can do into the ESG. The company secretary of the company is always available, and they are going to do whatever management is required. And in fact, what I have been witnessing, that ESG and sustainability department is not, in fact, that is disheartening to know that ESG and sustainability department is becoming a separate department altogether, and role of the company secretaries are becoming very limited in the organization. What my appeal to the company secretaries is that whenever your ESG is going to be implemented in the organization, way before the implementation, as a matter of strategy, I am advising all the company secretaries that way before implementation of the ESG in the organization, on a voluntary basis, try and convince your management that my department should have the sustainability as sub department also, and I would like to work on this, because in future when it becomes mandatory, it should not be becoming another department and your role should be snatched away and given to somebody else. So as a matter of strategy, I'm again saying that company secretary should be moving very fast, taking the advantage of the position being connected to the board and in the policy framing. Let's take the lead and become part of the ESG integration in the and adoption in the organization. That is first part. So first part is that only company secretaries has the larger role to play in ESG strategy and integration. Second part is data and metrics formation. Here also company secretary can take a center stage, but of course a lot of technical expertise will be required from the different set of professionals, maybe software and IT professionals. ESG rating advisory, this is another thing which is coming. ESG rating advisory, ESG investment advisory. So you can work with the rating agencies and investment advisory firm to do the ESG related investment advisory and rating advisory. Regulatory and compliance is always part and parcel. BRSR compliance, sustainability compliance, policy related compliance, guidelines related compliance, LODR compliances. So all compliance and regulatory part also company secretary can take care. ESG supply chain management. So value chain partner, supply chain management is also one thing where you can go and work upon. Drafting of reports, ESG reports and various policy drafting also is part of the company secretary. Then independent assurance, not ensure assurance, now assessment. So independent assessment can also be done by the company secretary, and your audit firm or your PCS firm should be targeting this particular area. This integration and other part can be done by the company secretary of the company, but last part, independent assurance, and first part, strategy and integration related advisory, company secretary in practice can also do. So first and last can be taken care, and in fact third and fourth also can be taken care by the practicing company secretary. So first, third, fourth, and last can be taken care and taken up by the practicing company secretary for the ESG. And in fact, time is running very fast. I think we should not be asking questions that when it will be implemented. Let's start from today itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. The insights into the theory side, the examples, the practical sides, the global scenario, all of the aspects have been covered during this discussion today. And we're really thankful for you to be here amongst us and guiding us.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Pooja. Thank you so much, ICSI. Thank you so much, President, Vice President, and Secretary, for organizing this and giving opportunity to all the members and including me to share my thoughts and learn a lot of things out of the ESG. Thank you so much. We may exit now.
Yes, sir.